My name is Emily Thompson. 5 years ago, my parents threw me out of the house with $100 and a black trash bag full of clothes. It was raining that night. I stood on the porch steps, water soaking through my hoodie, while my father looked at me like I was already a stranger. My mother wouldn't even come to the door. She watched from the window, arms crossed, face hard. "Take this and go," Dad said, pressing the folded bills into my palm. "You wanted to be independent. Now you are." The door slammed. The lock clicked. I was 19. I sat in my old Honda Civic for 20 minutes before I could drive. The engine coughed to life. I left our quiet street in Dayton, Ohio without looking back. That was the last time I saw my parents' house. The first night I slept in the Walmart parking lot. I cracked the windows, locked the doors, and cried until my chest hurt. In the morning, I bought the cheapest breakfast sandwich and gas. $100 disappears fast when you have nothing. I drove to Columbus. Bigger city, more chances. I found a room for rent on Craigslist, $400 a month, shared bathroom, 3 other girls who barely spoke to me. I took 2 jobs, days at a coffee shop, nights cleaning offices downtown. Every shift I kept my phone on loud. Just in case they called. They never did, not on my 20th birthday, not on Thanksgiving, not even when I send my mother a message saying I was safe, delivered, read. No reply. Month 3 I got sick. No health insurance. I worked through a fever, throwing up in the office bathroom between vacuuming floors. The manager threatened to fire me if I went home. So I stayed. That was when I started keeping a notebook. Every night I wrote one thing I learned. How to stretch $20 for a week of food. How to sleep with one eye open. How to smile at customers while my stomach growled. I told myself, this pain had a purpose. By the end of year 1 I had saved $1,200. I moved to a slightly better apartment. I enrolled in community college classes at night, business and marketing. I was exhausted, but I felt something shift. For the first time, I wasn't just surviving. I was planning. My parents still acted like I was dead. I saw their Facebook posts through a fake account, family vacations, new furniture, Dad's promotion at the insurance company, Mom smiling with her book club friends. No mention of a daughter. Ever. It hurt worse than the rain that night they kicked me out. I had no idea this silence would last 5 full years. Or what would happen when it finally broke. Year 2 was harder. The coffee shop laid me off. I lost the night cleaning job when the company switched contractors. For 3 weeks I lived on ramen and job applications. I slept in my car again for 4 nights when rent was due. One morning, I sat in a McDonald's parking lot charging my phone and saw an ad, caregivers needed, flexible hours, training provided. I applied even though I had 0 experience. They hired me the same week. That job changed everything. I worked with elderly clients. Mrs. Rivera taught me how to make real tamales. Mr. Henderson, a retired mechanic, showed me how to change my own oil so I didn't get ripped off. Mrs. Patel told me stories about moving from India in the 1970s with nothing but courage. They treated me like family. The kind that actually showed up. I started noticing patterns. So many adult children were too busy, too angry, or too far away to care for their aging parents. The system was broken. Families were broken. I took notes. I saved every dollar. By the middle of year 3 I had enough to register my own small LLC, Bridge Family Care. I started with 1 client, then 3, then 12. I hired 2 caregivers I trusted. I built a simple website at 2 a.m. using free templates. The business grew quietly. No big launch, no investors. Just word of mouth from people who saw I actually cared. Meanwhile, my parents celebrated their 25th wedding anniversary with a big party. I saw the photos. I wasn't invited. I wasn't mentioned. I printed 1 photo of the 3 of us from when I was 12, before everything went wrong, and kept it in my notebook, not out of love, as a reminder of what I would never become. I was 22 when I almost called them. I had my first profitable month, $6,000. I wanted to tell them, prove them wrong, Instead, I closed the notebook and went back to work. Year 4 brought the real test. One of my biggest clients, Mr. Kowalski, had a stroke.
His daughter.
Lived in California and wanted him in a home immediately. I spent 3 days negotiating, finding a better facility, and holding his hand while he cried. His daughter thanked me with tears and a big bonus. That same week, I found out my parents had told my aunt I was troubled and chose drugs. Lies. All of it. The betrayal burned. But it also lit a fire. I expanded. I created a program that connected distant families with local care coordinators. I added legal referral partners. I hired a part-time social worker. Bridge Family Care went from 12 clients to 47. Revenue crossed 6 figures. I moved into a small 1-bedroom apartment with actual furniture. I bought my first new car, used, but new to me. I paid cash. Still no word from my parents. I turned 20-4. Then came the day everything exploded. It was a Tuesday in late October. I was driving between client visits when my phone started buzzing. Once, twice, then nonstop. I pulled over. 88. Missed calls in less than 2 hours. Most from numbers I didn't recognize. Some from my mother's old number. A few from my father. Voicemails filled my inbox. I sat in the car with my heart hammering and pressed play on the first one. Emily. It's Mom, please pick up, we need to talk, it's important. Her voice cracked. She was crying. Next message. Emily Thompson, this is your father. Call me back immediately. This is serious. Then a relative I hadn't spoken to in years. Emily, honey, your parents are in trouble. Please call someone. I listened to 17 messages before I had to stop. My hands were shaking. They needed me. After 5 years of nothing, they suddenly needed me. Asterisk. What they didn't know was that the girl they threw away with $100 had become someone they could no longer control. I didn't call back right away. Instead, I went home, made coffee, opened my notebook, and started writing everything down. Dates, details, what I would say, what I wouldn't, because this wasn't just a phone call. This was the moment I had waited for without knowing I was waiting. I didn't call them that first day. I let the phone ring. 88 calls became 112 by evening. At 9:17 p.m., I finally answered my mother's number. Emily? Her voice was raw. Thank God, we've been trying to reach you all day. I stayed silent. Sweetheart, something terrible happened. Your father, we need your help, please. I spoke for the first time in 5 years. What exactly do you need? She started crying again. Between sobs, she told the story. 3 months earlier, my father had invested their retirement, almost $480,000, into a guaranteed real estate fund run by a friend from church. The fund was a scam. The friend disappeared. The money was gone. Worse, my father had convinced several relatives and neighbors to invest too. Now everyone was losing their homes, their savings. Lawsuits were starting. Their church had asked them to step down from leadership. Mom, single quotes, S voice broke. We're going to lose the house, Emily. The bank called today. We have 30 days. I listened without interrupting. Then I asked the only question that mattered. Why call me now? A long pause. Because you work with families. You help people in crisis. Your business. We saw the articles online. You're successful now. We need you to talk to the lawyers, maybe lend us something until we recover. We're family. Family. The word almost made me laugh. I told her I would think about it and hung up. That night I didn't sleep. I reviewed every financial record of my company. I called my lawyer at 7 a.m. the next morning. I asked for a full background check on my parents. Situation. 2 days later, the report came back. They still had assets. My mother's jewelry, Dad's classic car collection, their second property up north. They weren't completely broke. They just didn't want to sell what they loved. They wanted my money instead. The money I earned sleeping in cars and cleaning toilets. Asterisk. I scheduled a video call for that Friday. Neutral ground. I wore the same black blazer I used for important client meetings. My mother answered first. She looked 10 years older, sunken eyes. My father sat beside her, jaw tight, trying to look in control. Emily, Dad started. Let's not make this emotional. We need $50,000 to stop the immediate foreclosure. You can afford it. We'll pay you back with interest. I looked straight into the camera. 5 years ago, you handed me $100 and closed the door. You never called. Not once. Not when I was sick. Not when I had nowhere to sleep. Now you want $50,000. My mother reached toward the screen. We were hurt. You said terrible things that night. I said I wanted to go to college instead of working at Dad's company. That was my crime. Silence. I continued. I won't give you $50,000, but I will help on my terms. I laid out the offer. I would pay $25,000 directly to the bank, but only as a secured loan with their house as collateral. My lawyer would handle the paperwork. They would also sell the classic cars and the lake property within 90 days and use proceeds to repay. Relatives first, and one more condition. They had to publicly apologize to every family member. They lied to about me. In writing. My father's face turned red. You're blackmailing your own parents. No, I said calmly. I'm protecting myself. The girl you threw away doesn't exist anymore. This is business. My mother started crying again. This time it looked real. Emily, we missed you. Every day. I felt something tight in my chest but kept my voice steady. Actions show what people miss. Your actions showed me I was alone. Now I'm not. I built my own family, the people who actually showed up. We signed the papers 3 days later. I transferred the money, not out of love. Out of calculated justice. The house was saved. Relatives received partial repayments. My father sold 3 classic cars. My mother posted a long public message on Facebook admitting they had been wrong about me and asking for forgiveness from the people. They misled. Was shared 230 times. Some people praised her bravery. Others called it too little too late. I read every comment. 6 months later, I drove past my old neighborhood for the first time in years. I didn't stop at their house. I just looked at the familiar street while rain started falling again. The same rain as that night. But this time I was driving a paid-off car with a full tank of gas. My business had grown to 83 clients. I had hired 7 full-time staff. I was helping families stay together instead of falling apart. My parents called occasionally now. Short, careful conversations. My mother asks how I am. My father talks about the weather. I answer politely. I keep boundaries firm. Some bridges can be rebuilt. Others stay burned so you remember the heat that forged you. I chose both. I still keep the notebook. The last page has only one line written now. $100 was the best investment they ever made in me. Because that night they threw me away, they accidentally set me free. And I built a life they could never take back. If you were in my position. After years of silence and sudden desperate calls, would you have helped them at all? What conditions would you have set? Tell me your story in the comments. I read every single comment. Everyone.